Time now for the markets with Leighton. And Leighton, you say the month of March ended with a bang?
Yes, indeed. A big pair of USDA reports out on the 31st created some noise. And also ahead this week in the markets, some corn acres may yet swing to another crop. A new sawmill is planned for northeast Mississippi. And there is a big jump in the amount of beef in cold storage in the U.S. On Tuesday, March 31st, the government estimated more corn acres and stocks than expected. Needless to say, this surprise triggered a negative price response in the market. With these reports now in the rearview mirror, the corn market's attention shifts fully to planting. And for many parts of the Mid-South, corn planting has been subject to weather delays. Market watcher Virgil Robinson says it's flat too wet in the mid to lower South to get corn out on schedule.
There are yet acres that can swing from one crop to another. So I don't know that there's any concern yet in the mid to lower South about not being able to plant corn, but certainly 2 weeks from tonight, if they are stymied, that will have an influence on acres.
The delay in corn planting in the Mid-South, as well as parts of the Southeast, raises a big question. Will the projected acreage indeed be planted to corn? Or could there be a switch to other crops, such as cotton or even soybeans? Speaking of beans, Tuesday's big reports turned out to be a friendly surprise for this market. The planting estimate was lower than expected for soybeans, and the stocks figure was slightly less than expected. The May contract moved higher in response. We turn to forestry products now. News of a timber company's expansion in northeast Mississippi. Pro-South Companies near Booneville says it is adding a sawmill to its operation. The Mississippi Development Authority says the project represents an investment of over $2.5 million. 57 new jobs will be created as well. Pro-South is currently involved in logging and timber purchasing and operates a wood yard. From timber to the milk parlor now as we look at trivia for this week. Here's our question. How much whole milk does it take to make 1 pound of butter? Is the answer A, 10 pounds, B, 12 pounds, C, 21 pounds, or D, 25 pounds? You'll find out in just a few more minutes. We move into the livestock sector now. The most recent cattle on feed report indicates a smaller herd in the United States. Extension economist Brian Williams explained that to me in this recent interview. Brian, did the cattle on feed report have any surprises?
There really weren't any surprises in it. Looking at the numbers, on feed, total on feed was down about 0.5% from a year ago, which was just a little bit lower than expected. Placements were down 8.1% from a year ago, and that was about 1% lower than expected. And then marketings were down 2.1%, and that was a little bit higher than expected. But all of those numbers were well within the range of what the expectations were.
So does this reflect continued tight supply of cattle?
It does. We're seeing with the lower placements, we're seeing we have a smaller herd, and then on top of that, we're seeing increased heifer retention. Plus, we're seeing heavier cattle going into the feedlot. So it's really, it's really tightening that supply.
Would you say this is supportive of prices as far as at the farm gate?
Well, overall, the report was neutral. It was really. It wasn't anything that was too unexpected. Most analysts knew that we had a tight supply, and they could see those heavier cattle coming in. So it was fairly neutral for the markets.
So producers are seemingly holding back the lighter weight cattle then? Yeah,
what we're seeing is we have a lot of cheap feed out there right now, and so they're trying to feed and grow those cattle, both the producers on the cow-calf side, but also our stockers and feedlots. They all have the cheap feed, so they're trying to grow those cattle as much as they can on that cheap feed.
Now, separate from the on-feed report, we also, since that report, had a cold storage report, another monthly report. What did that indicate as far as the beef supply?
Well, our cold storage, we saw a big jump in the amount of beef in cold storage, a 20% jump from a year ago. But what we're seeing there is, what we think is happening is there's an increase in imports, so that's kind of adding to our supply. But we're also seeing we can't get the exports out like what we wanted to because there was a strike going on in the West Coast on our ports. So there's kind of some beef backed up there too, it looks like.
We end our market segment with an update on the pork sector. Analyst Ted Seifert says the threat of more PED virus in our nation's hogs this year was apparently overstated, and that in turn triggered some bad decisions.
We really overshot the market with PEDv. We not only overshot on prices, but we also overshot on production, figuring that we were going to have this PED virus really thinning out our hog herd. And that never really seemed to be the case, or never really came to fruition. But not only that, you throw the bird flu issues on top of that. A lot of countries are now banning our exports of poultry, turkeys in particular. And the idea there is that with more domestic supply of poultry, you might see a hit on demand in hogs as well. So for the near term, that's been a bearish story. Now that could turn around at some point.
Back to the trivia quiz to wrap things up for this week. And the right answer this week is C. It takes over 21 pounds of whole milk to make 1 pound of butter.